What's up, Beta Nation? Welcome to Dep Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name's Fareed. As a part of today's video, I'm sitting down with existing builders in the Cardano ecosystem to highlight some of their ongoing Project Catalyst funding round number 12 proposals. And so as a part of today's video, we're going to be talking about Delta DeFi, a brand new high-frequency trading platform aiming to build here on Cardano. We'll also be talking about Mesh.js, which aims to simplify the developer experience here in the ecosystem. And last but not least, we've got a dedicated sidechain for RWAs, which is also being proposed as a part of this ongoing Catalyst round. Without any further ado, let me go ahead and bring up today's guests, which include Hinson from Delta DeFi. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, yeah, it's good night here in Hong Kong. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Perfect. Thank you. We've also got Jingles representing the Mesh team. Jingles, welcome aboard. Good morning.
Hi, glad to be here.
Thank you. And then last but not least, we've also got Sebastian joining us. Good morning, Sebastian. How are you doing?
Good evening from here from Singapore.
Perfect. Let's kick off today's video with just a brief round of introductions, if you guys don't mind. And maybe we'll just go in the same order that I brought you guys all up in. So Hinson, you've got the first honor.
Yep. So hello, the audience. So I'm Hinson. I'm the co-founder of Delta DeFi and Sedan Lab. So Delta DeFi is our new desk built on Cardano, which is aimed for catering the need for high-frequency trading, where we brought forward the zero-cost order management and instant order confirmation and so forth. So we got the capability to bridge the high-frequency traders. On the other hand, I'm kind of more reputable in the community at Sedan Lab, which we are in-depth collaboration with Jingles, Mesh.js, and also build other tools. Like recently, we have just launched a tooling, Rust-based tooling called Whiskey, which is basically an SDK that the same API as Mesh.js. And also we host a Cardano Hong Kong community. Yeah.
Perfect. Quick and to the point. I definitely do appreciate that. Hinson has joined me here on the channel in times past. Guys, if you guys want to find out more about Sedan Labs and what he's working on, make sure to go ahead and check out those interviews. Over to you, Jingles in the Mesh team.
Hey guys, Jingles from the Mesh team as well as with the DeFi team. So Mesh.js is the toolkit that helps developer build applications, and applications such as Delta DeFi is being used, and also DeFi application is being used. So these are the use cases where the toolings help us accelerate the building process much easier, building the on-chain and the off-chain transactions that is needed to do decentralized application. So it's a great tool. So yeah, thanks for having us here.
Of course, my pleasure. For anybody who wants to find out more about Mesh.js, it's available at meshjs.dev. Links will be left down below as a part of today's video. Last but definitely not least, we've got Sebastian. Welcome aboard. You mind giving us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much. So I'm Sebastian. I'm the CEO of DeFi, which is a real-fi ecosystem that try to develop a bespoke solution to address financial inclusion, mostly in Southeast Asia and in the Middle East.
Okay, perfect.
Very simple.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys all for providing wonderful introductions here. I'll maybe kind of let you guys steer today's conversation. Again, I've got 3 separate proposals I would love to hear a little bit more about. Maybe we start off with Delta DeFi. Hinson, do you want to maybe just break down again what benefits the community stands to gain with something like Delta DeFi, and exactly what your Catalyst proposal aims to cover from a funding perspective?
Yep, sure. So let me give a very brief kind of history or background of Delta DeFi. Indeed, Delta DeFi started off in the Cardano community in Fund 11 round, where we got a use case concept proposal, where we are progressing really nicely right now, and we are approaching the end of the Fund 11 proposal. So for the Fund 11 proposal, it's more about try to find out if there is a way to cater the need for high frequency traders. And just upon the research and prototype, and we found out that it's really that probable that we bring that on the Cardano ecosystem. So that's why we have submit a follow-up proposal in Fund 12 to really to try to make a production grade dApps that will to be released to the ecosystem, supporting the teams and engineers and so forth. So yep, so we have already tried out the concept, and I think so far so good. and we are on track to bring it to the Cardano community. But as of the timeline, we really need the need from community to help us to accelerate that. Why it is important to Cardano community is that we have been in the ecosystem for around a few years. We all know that the liquidity here is not so good. So I'm just keep thinking about this year about what we can do to bring the liquidity to the ecosystem. So I'm based Hong Kong. I have been in touch personally with a lot of financial institutions and traders. And what I just know about them trading on DeFi in general is that there's some kind of root problem that they cannot solve. So one of it is long blockchain confirmation time. For example, you submit a transaction, you have to wait for the node to confirm your order. This time lag alone has already can fade away a lot of arbitrage opportunity and trading strategy. So this is one pain point. The second pain point is about placing order and canceling orders. Imagine you're a professional market makers or traders. You want to just play tens or hundreds of orders in the same second, and then the next second you want to cancel 100 of it because of the price has been changing and to be very volatile. In DeFi, it's kind of cost prohibitive for a lot of traders, because imagine one transaction fee at the time you place an order, another transaction fee occur at the time you cancel an order. This doesn't happen on Binance. So this is what we are trying to bring to the community, is that placing orders zero cost, canceling orders zero cost. All these things are happening off chain, and we have a mechanism to, by the same time, to safeguarding the user's funds, where we do not have any control of the user's fund. And also because we have the off-chain layer to do the order matching, we could provide instant order confirmation to the users. Just at the time you're hitting the API or clicking the button, signing the transaction, we could give a response to you immediately that your transaction has been successful or not. So this is something that's really important to some traditional traders. And we want to have this application to be live on Cardano, so that there are a lot of external money trying to use Cardano as a blockchain to settlement trades.
One wonderful summary there. I want to maybe turn it over to Jingles, right, to maybe hear a little bit more about the technical side of things. So you're obviously a developer contributing a lot here in the ecosystem. Could you break it down for anybody who's not so technical as to what technology you guys are using to make this high frequency trading possible on Cardano, and exactly how Mesh.js has played a role so far in Delta DeFi?
Exactly. So we are building toolings together with the Sidan Lab, and when it comes to tooling, there is many ways to do, and there are many viewpoints of what is good and what is not so good. Some people really don't like the WebAssembly. Some people really like the Rust. Some people really like the TypeScript. So this is where the new version of Mesh comes in, where we are creating all three versions of Mesh, right? So for someone who wants just JavaScript, TypeScript, there's one version for him. And this is super good for front-end applications. And when it comes to Delta DeFi, we're talking about speed right here, right? So this is where the whiskey that Vincent just mentioned is pure Rust, right? Having that is, we can build transactions of 100 TPS, transaction per second on the back end, one machine, no problem. So this is for those who prefer performance. And there's also the in-between, right? In-between is the WebAssembly, where you need a TypeScript backend, and yet you need certain kind of speed. So it's kind of in the middle. So this is where the toolings that we are building together are used in the use cases. Same for DeFi as well, the cross-border payment services and KYC. There are lots of Cardano transactions, smart contracts being used. So rather than reinventing the wheel, we think about how can we generalize the tooling so that it serves a lot of purpose, and such that the community can also help us test the bug, things that we may not have gotten it ourselves. So this is from the tooling perspective. Hope it's helpful.
Now, one portion that I noticed when reviewing the proposals earlier was the open source portion, right? So I would love to hear about, number one, whether or not this is officially going to be open source, but then number two, what other projects do you see benefiting from the work that you guys are doing right now at Mesh.js?
Definitely, everything is open source. This is how we want the community to validate with us. so that the community who works on it, they realize there's something issues, and also given that the source code is open, allowing us to share those links directly to those things of a very low level components that are not even documented. So as a developer, you are able to see the tweaks from the lowest level point of view. So all the toolings that Sedan Lab and Mesh we are doing are open source, including some parts of our applications as well. Even though those are proprietary products, some of the engine or documentation, white paper, these are all open source so that the ecosystem can learn from it and reuse, so that if they want to build something that we are kind of looking at, there are ways to do it, even those are proprietary.
Nicely summarized. Another quick follow-up. Do you mind breaking down a timeline for implementation when all of this will be done if you guys are able to get funding through Catalyst? And I would also assume you guys are planning on working on this even if you're not funded through Catalyst. Could you confirm that as well?
Exactly. So currently the work is already in progress because of the use cases and applications that we need. We are working on it no matter whether we get a Catalyst votes or not. But with that, it incentivizes us to maintain, create course content, and all the other non-technical perspective of it. That can be really helpful. But yes, it's truly that we are working on it even right now, and parts of it is already working.
Perfect. And thank you. Now, at this point, I want to go ahead and include Sebastian here in the conversation. There's been a lot of talk about DeFi, RealFi, RWAs. Do you mind maybe breaking down how you're contributing to Project Catalyst in round number 12?
Yes, of course. I bring the real world into Cardano and Catalyst number 12. The idea is like with DeFi, what we want to do is we want to create a financial system that does not discriminate. So it's a big word, it's talking about financial inclusion. So people will say, yes, it's a financial inclusion. It's a big problem. It's not new. There is already a solution. But when we look at the current solution that we find in emerging market, we realize that they all fail to produce some right product market fit that really have fully addressed the unique challenges of diverse needs and in those regions. So every country have different problem to work at in financial inclusion. What are those problems? The major one is like there is a lot of like underdocumented population. This is actually an issue because all of this country are imposed some structural adjustment over the AML and CFT policy by the big emerged country. So also they're really dependent of cross-border payment relationship in order to have access to a global financial system. And therefore, all of these two aspects, underdocumented population and AML and safety policy, cannot put them at risk with the corresponding banking relationship. Another point is that most of in those countries, you have a limited access to banking services and other financial services. And when you have, usually it's very high, there is high transaction costs, and very often with slow and inefficient payment system. So that's all of these solutions that we try to tackle with the private side chain. The idea that we can create an infrastructure where you can actually compile a lot of different information regarding the individuals and the population. So when you come for the underdocumented, the idea for them to have access to financial services is to build their financial identity over time, so that you can provide them some kind of like digital identity, and as they have access to minimal financial services, and as they transact, they produce more data, and those data is enriching the financial identity, and over time they can have access to more advanced financial services. But here we are talking about very sensitive data, private data that cannot be put on a public blockchain. Also, those data are generated by multiple and with multiple financial institutions. Therefore, we need some kind of like a common core banking system or common database when we can collect those data, but still maintaining the privacy for the individuals. So this is where the private sidechain is important, and because we can actually put those data, Azure data, encrypt the data here, and then we can, through different type of technology, like a ZKP or MPC technology, we can analyze those data, compute those data, and create a better risk score or credit score for all the individual over time, so they can access to financial services. That side chain also can be used actually to do the movement of value, so that's become like when you have when you think the traditional financial system, if you want to send money cross-border, then it goes actually on multiple ledger. So you have your own bank and that have to record the transaction of this ledger, then you have the intermediary banks, the corresponding bank, and then finally the beneficiary bank that need also to record the transaction on their ledger. And because you have like incompatibility of core banking system, you have also some different regulatory requirement. Very often what it requires is manual work. So it's prone to errors and it takes time. So therefore, when you for your transaction, it may have an errors, it may have like a regulatory issue over the supply chain, and then it takes a lot of time, increasing the cost. So if we put that on the private blockchain, then everything becomes much faster, because when you can analyze pre-transaction, what are the regulatory requirements, and match actually to ensure that everything is going to be smooth for the process. And then after you just validate with MPC some signatures, so the transaction can go and it becomes almost immediate. So the private sidechain is very useful for this because it balances all of these elements: privacy, transparency for doing AML and CFT, but also efficiency in terms of when it comes to move the value between the sender and the recipient.
Thank you there. Just generally speaking, I know that when we're talking about layer twos, those tend to inherit the security of the underlying layer one. And then with sidechains, they typically have their own consensus mechanism. Do you mind highlighting the framework that you plan on using in order to build this sidechain? But then also just thinking from a timeline perspective, a sidechain is a huge daunting task, right? I'm sure it's overwhelming just thinking about it. So with something like this, how quickly could we see this on the main net if it actually does come to fruition?
Yeah, maybe this question actually goes into me and Jingles. Indeed, we've got another Catalyst proposal to develop a Cardano surface layer framework. In this, DeFi is trying to implement exactly the same framework to its kind of product, but we also want to share the know-how to the community about how we do the whole thing. So the idea is very simple. So what me and Jingles is trying to do is exactly the same with deploying the Cardano mainnet testnet with the customized protocol type parameters. For example, if your public or private L2 or sidechain do not want fees, you could remove it. You do not want min UTXO, you could remove it. So these are what we call the customized protocol parameters. And at the end of the day, there is a mechanism to anchor the layer 2 data into the layer 1. So the good thing about this thing comes from three perspectives. First perspective is that because we are exactly the same using the Cardano mainnet technology, there's no new invention in the whole thing. Just we're using exactly the same test stack. There's no rocket science indeed. We're just thinking about the mechanism of anchoring data into layer 1. The second thing is about exactly the same test stack that we could use on the private L2 or public L2. You could still use Icon for your smart contract, Plutus for smart contract. You still use Mesh or Lucid for your off-chain. So you could use whatever you're familiar with your Cardano test stack in this Cardano surface layer framework. The third thing of it is that you got the full control onto that particular blockchain, onto whether you want to customize for your application. For example, Sebastian wants to customize for the DKYC and wallet solution in DeFi ecosystem. He could just customize anything that he wants. For example, there's maybe another Delta DeFi in the future. We want to also run our private L2 or public L2 to have even faster transactions. We customize for our own use case. So yeah, these are the highlight. And this is a proposal that Seedar Lab and Mesh.js co-proposing and wishing to just open source the framework for the community.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. So
just want to add from a number and a success point of view, it's already working, and we have already tested it with the DeFi KYC transactions and smart contract. It's about 7 transactions submitted and confirmed within the 2 seconds. And that really allow us to go to market for the product, because as an end user, like your non-crypto buddies and whoever, right? They can't wait for confirmation. They want to have like immediate, oh, this is confirmed. So when it comes to having side chains such as this, they allow us to customize, and exactly we are building the toolings that required to support this kind of application. And we use L1 for security. At every end period, we will push to the blockchain, the mainnet, on the hash of the current state of the blockchain. That gives us a lot of security. And from the regulator's point of view, it is very secure. Nothing funny business is really happening in the process of getting all these transactions running.
Okay, I've got one quick technical question. So you mentioned things being settled, if I'm not mistaken, on the Cardano layer 1. In terms of then, I guess, just technology, I know we've got Hydra and state channels. We've got ZK with, rollups, optimistic rollups, etc. What are you guys planning on using? Because I'm also seeing another proposal with ZK Fold and DeFi for cross-border payments using ZK tech. So I'd love to maybe hear a little bit more about what side of ZK you guys are leaning on.
Does Sebastian want to go for ZK and how is it?
No, go. It sounds very technical, so you better go.
Okay, yeah. So we store users' data on chain, hash in a way for zero knowledge circuits to be able to consume them. So for example, I don't know what's your age, and definitely you don't want your age to be revealed to someone from some other countries, right? So for example, I don't know your citizenship, and you don't want your bank to send your passport and your ID to whoever is receiving the money, that kind of thing. So we talk about KYC as well, user information. Everything is hash, and being put in on chain and hash, zero knowledge proof circuits can be created such that the third party can ask question: is this person from a certain demographics? Is this person from a different certain age group? So all this can be done using zero knowledge proof, and that's the partnership with ZK4, the R&D for applying zero knowledge on KYC information.
Thank you for answering that. And
just to add on that, he's also had that is more for business, but he has an efficiency element into it, because when you have when you do cross-border payment, as I said, you have multiple intermediaries that are involved into the supply chain of the transaction, and then you need to share the information between everyone to do the KYC and AML activities. So it takes time. It's costly, and then of course you have the risk of data breach, and you have the risk of misuse of the data. The ZK and Nano can make that almost automatically, and you can actually work across partners, and then with different type of data located in different servers. So you can actually in one click get access to the information, and to be sure that those information confirm your risk appetite. So that goes much faster in terms of for the transaction to occur.
Noted. And what I definitely appreciate about what you guys have explained so far is the speed, right? Speed tends to be one of the things that Cardano gets a lot of flack for. And it sounds like you guys have really thought about how to improve that and how to make this scalable and applicable to other businesses as well, right? So obviously you guys will be starting with onboarding platforms, for example, like Delta DeFi, as well as DeFi, right? For a lack of better terms here, DEFY as well. But it's good to hear that there's at least a few use cases, and you guys are at the point where you guys have gotten some proof of concepts to actually confirm that this actually functions. Now, that said, we are getting close to today's time for the interview. I would maybe just love to make a quick round to maybe get any final or closing thoughts as to important information that you guys would like to share with the community. So maybe this time we go backwards. I'll start with Sebastian. I'll go over to Jingles, and then Hinson, you'll close us out.
That's a good question. I have like nothing to say right now. Yeah, I think I think like the advantage that why we choose to develop on Cardano is because actually it's the way it is developed. It's very stable. Nothing is brute forces, and that really like appeal for banks and small intermediary banks, not the big one because they build their own blockchain. But for small intermediary banks that do not have the technology to develop their own blockchain, that appeals them very, very much. And because also it pleases the regulators. That's such a critical point. So that's actually a strength, that the way the Cardano protocol has been developed. I think that's why we choose Cardano, and that's why we want to continue to promote the technology outside and reach and solve a real economic world problem.
Perfect. Over to Jingles.
Yep, I think just follow our Twitter and get the latest updates. And Fred can definitely share the links to our Twitter. Yeah, so much exciting things is coming up, especially on the use case side of things as well as the tooling side. It's gonna be good.
Thank you. And before I jump over to Hinson, I do want to give a shout out to the entire Mesh.js team. I've actually implemented some of their work on my personal website. I was able to jump into their Discord, get a lot of help. Everything was basically plug and play. So for anybody who wants to dip their toes into Cardano, into building and just joining the building community or the developer community, definitely make sure to check out Mesh.js and make sure to support their Project Catalyst proposals. Similarly, for Sebastian and DeFi, I'll leave the link to their official Twitter down below. Make sure to go ahead and give them a follow in order to stay updated as to everything that they're building in and outside of Cardano. All right, Hinson, over to you.
Yep, just one sentence supplement for Jingo as Mesh.js do welcome for more contributors. So if you do love his work or our work, please just join our community to build it together. So for Delta DeFi, I just keep it short. Actually, we have already launched our first round of alpha testing, and we are ramping up the comments. And we are starting up the second round of alpha testing, which is more onto the loading side. Like we really want someone to try to API training on our platform. So for Project Catalyst, we have two proposals. Actually, implementing Delta DeFi is not the biggest problem. It's not about technical. Like technical, we have been around for several years. It's pretty straightforward indeed. But as long as we want to bring a new order book to the community, there are a lot of heavy lifting, talking to the old monies, like the market makers, like the traders. There are a lot of those kind of heavy lifting. And also we do need some liquidity in our protocol to be able to make the market and try to transfer some liquidity from some centralized exchanges. So the support from the community folks is really, really very important so that we got some treasury to do this kind of activities to really to help to bootstrap the liquidity on Cardano. Yep.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And what I'm looking most forward to with Delta DeFi is just a brand new concept in this space, right? I think a lot of people are familiar with traditional swaps on Cardano, and this will be a new opportunity to, number one, onboard new people, but then give a new option to existing traders that have been in the ecosystem since its inception. So hopefully, Hinson, I can get access to that alpha and provide some content here to my community. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it here for today's interview. Again, I want to thank Hinson coming in from Delta DeFi, Jingles representing Mesh and DeFi, as well as Sebastian representing DeFi, who's aiming to build a Cardano-based sidechain, right, for KYC and DeFi and financial applications. Again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out the description down below for links to all the proposals that we've discussed as a part of today's video. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down below. If you found today's video to be helpful, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. It really does help to get this content out to other members within the growing community. It also helps to spread the word about Cardano to anybody who might be looking from the outside in. That said, if you guys, again, want more, make sure to check out the description down below. And on that note, we'll see you all in the next video. Cheers, everybody.